a legal practitioner and African affairs analyst. Ejeta Otwoniyo joins us now for more on Judge Weah's appointments. Welcome to the program.
A pleasure to be here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So what do you make of President Weah's appointments? Are you saying that those appointments or those who are appointed can live up to expectations?
Well, it will be too early to say whether they are going to live up to expectations. But naturally, coming into that office with such little experience in politics as well as governance, it's expected that he is going to have to make some early appointments based on recommendation of some key players in the Liberian political turf. And that's what we see playing out currently. He's made the appointments well, and we expect that those that he has appointed must be coming to the table with some experience. In all, the box stops at its table.
Well, you mentioned some key players now. Who are those key players we're talking about
players,
here?
You would notice that in the build-up to the election, it was alleged that the former president, Johnson Sirleaf, was openly supporting Judge Weah. And then, of course, you would also notice that the vice president, Joel Taylor, has some links with the former party of her ex-husband. So some of these key players, whether you don't see them play out in the open, they have their actions in the background. And it's playing out in the Liberian.
Well, you just mentioned the former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The Liberians appear satisfied with these newly appointed ministers, especially with insinuations, like you just mentioned, that some of these appointments were recommendations from his predecessor, that's Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. But do you actually agree to the letter with that insinuation?
There's nothing wrong if someone who is coming into office with such inexperience decides to consult his predecessor on what to do in terms of appointment. And so I don't see anything wrong. The insinuations will be there, but the insinuations will thin or will pan out if these appointees perform to expectations. So it's not going to be material whether it was Johnson Sirleaf that recommended them or not. The important thing is that Liberia is in dire need of good governance. And that's what is playing out currently in Liberia.
But based on this, are we likely to see the good governance that Liberians are yearning for?
Well, if you ask me, Liberia has come a very, very long way. The level of poverty in Liberia is alarming. And then, of course, so many things are broken down. The educational system is broken down. And then the expectations have gotten to a crescendo in terms of what the expectations of King Weah, that's his new title now, will be. So, and something remarkable is said in his acceptance speech, his address, was that there were not going to be quick fixes. And I thought that was remarkable because Liberia is in the doldrum. To pull it out is going to take time, but essentially they have put the right foot ahead in terms of a good transition. The first since 1944. I think that's remarkable.
Now let's talk about his vice, who happens to be Charles Taylor's ex-wife, that's Liberia's warlord. What can you say about her? Because it appears little has been said about her.
Well, yeah, she's playing a very significant role in the government. And you will notice that the Congress for Democratic Change, under which King Weah flew the flag, had to go into some form of coalition with Charles Taylor's former party. And that was what threw up Joel Taylor as the running mate. So, whether you like it or not, some of these things will play out. She's not going to be seen as such. She's not going to be heard as such, but again, the actions of the government will also project the manifesto or the programs, if you like, of Mrs. Taylor.
So are you saying that Judge Weah might be carrying out some, or possibly Charles Taylor could still be ruling the country indirectly through George Weah.
It's difficult to say it the way it is. But the likelihood is that Charles Taylor has a good role, a major role to play in the emergence. And that's also going to play out in terms of the programs. But we just pray that the country does not relapse into any form of crisis, because we have had enough in Liberia.
Let's talk about some of the things that President George Weah has set out to do. He says that his priority is to fight corruption and pay civil servants a living wage. Do you see that happening?
Well, in terms of the economy of Liberia is at its lowest ebb. Its major exports, iron ore and rubber, have not been taken in the international market in recent times. So what I expect, or what the people of Liberia will be expecting President Weah to do, is to open up the space for foreign investors to come in and try to rejig that economy. And the only way to do that is to put policies in place that will help the economy to begin to admit of direct foreign investments. That's the only way for now. But in terms of having to use the natural resources to try to get the country running again, it's going to be an uphill task for now. And so we're paying living wage. Well, there's nothing wrong in paying living wage. Half of the population of Liberia is below poverty line. So how he's going to do that, we pray that God will help him.
Well, we do pray so, and we'll see how things pan out in the coming days. Well, many thanks, legal practitioner and African affairs analyst, Ejeta Otoniyi. Thanks for coming on Network Africa.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, still to come on the program, South African jazz legend Hugh Masekela passes on at the age of 78. Do stay with us.